So let's get directly started. First of all, hello everyone. Thanks for joining our presentation today. We'll talk about the Ceph Dashboard. As I think maybe you saw that in the schedule, we refer to Ceph Manager Dashboard, which is no longer a thing. So in the meanwhile, you decided, okay, it's just called Ceph Dashboard. So if you may be wondering why the title is now different than the title in the schedule, that's the reason, because it was changed, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. In the meanwhile, we tried to replace it everywhere. So we prepared a little bit for today. So first of all, a quick recap of how the dashboard evolved over time, really quickly, not that much, and then we would like directly to switch to a live demo. At least that's the plan, if the demo gods are bear with us. So keep your fingers crossed. That's at least our plan. And then we switch back, give you a quick architecture overview of the gateways, and then the second part of the live demo, so you have the time to take a look at the demo, then you can let it settle for a bit, and then you get a second chance. So that should be a perfect start, I guess. So the first, where back in the day it still was called Ceph Manager Dashboard, was introduced was Luminous. Initially, the version in Luminous is just a read-only version. You were just capable of, this is how it looks like, just visualizing a little bit. You had a log output, you saw some average pool statistics, and that's mainly it. So it was just the first try. Was written with CherryPy, so Python on the back end. Front end was using Rivet.js, and yeah, that's what was shipped with Luminous. At the beginning of 2018, yeah, it was 2018, the former openATTIC team approached Sage and asked if they could maybe help to improve the in-place dashboard a little bit, to use their knowledge to speed it up. And that's what we mainly did. So with Mimic, we delivered what we call the Ceph Manager Dashboard v2. There is no official version 2 somewhere, but that's how we internally named it. And it looked almost the same, just the theming is a little bit different. It's not dark anymore. I know some of you maybe hate that because, but that's something that you could change on your own. So the main changes we're still using CherryPy, but we switched from Rivet.js to Angular, so JavaScript. And what we also added was some basic user password authentication, the initial RGW management, RBD functionality. So we started to add management functionality to it. So with the Mimic release, you're already capable of configuring, I would say, something. So it slowly turned into something useful, I would say. The biggest change was now, I would say, the Nautilus release, where we added a couple of things to the dashboard. I will show you later. So in the meanwhile, we can manage OSDs, flags, pools. We can create profiles within the dashboard. We integrated some more. Show you in a bit. That's how it looks like. So that's the first view on the dashboard for today. What I would like to know from all of you, who of you already tested it? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Already a couple. Even the developer tested it. That's amazing. Thanks, Ernesto, for raising your hand. So that's how it looks. That's how it looks like. Those are the built-in graphs that we've added. So this is the view that you get out of the box as soon as you enable the dashboard after you deployed Luminous. So the new functionalities, as I said, we added a lot. First of all, we now support user and roles, so multiple users. We supported that already beforehand, but now we can configure roles. Because people ask for things like, we need a read-only user, for example, for monitoring reasons or whatnot, or we would like to have the user who can just modify, let's say, RGW, for example, where you should be able to create new RBD images, something like that. That's the functionality that we added. We support SSO, based on SAML v2 now. For those who are interested in that as well. We added the auditing log to the UI. We'll show you in a bit. The new landing page, which was shown in the previous slide, is localized in the meanwhile to, I need to lie, I don't know exactly 6, 7 languages in the meanwhile. So that would be cool if there are more to come. So we're using Transifex, so if you have a different mother tongue, which isn't added yet, that would be cool. Thanks to the Swagger, we have now a, I would say, documented, really pretty API, which is really useful. We can, as I said, manage the OSDs. We now switched from a config viewer in the UI to a config, what we call settings editor. So you can now modify the configurations within the UI. Show you in a bit. Pool management, as I already mentioned, the ECP management. Really new, was merged I think a couple of weeks ago, was the RBG Mirroring functionality. So you can, within the UI, now configure the remote peer and also configure the RBG replication, the mirroring. We embedded the Grafana dashboards. There was a previous talk today already where someone mentioned the Ceph matrix already. So we embedded the dashboards, the Grafana dashboards there as well. So for those of you who already maybe tried the older openATTIC versions or something else where we embedded Grafana as well, that's now the case in the dashboard. We still have, or we added, to reach feature parity, also the crush map viewer. We added the NFS Ganesha management back to it, iSCSI. We in the meanwhile support RBD quality of service, at least parts of it. Prometheus alert manager is integrated to configure it within the UI, and Ceph manager module management is you can turn off and on, and also configure the Ceph manager modules within the UI. So let's give it a try. Let's see. As I promised, I won't spend too much time just on slides. Switch to it, and here we are. That's the fresh new dashboard that is shipped with the newest release that you'll get. So this is the landing page where you get just a rough overview about what's the status, the overall status of the cluster. You have, I know, some donuts here about the raw and use capacity, the PG status. So I think the most important parts are covered here. Let me quickly get to the different menu items that we've added from top to the bottom. We have an host overview, which lists, for example, which services and roles are deployed on which node. You can click on a specific host, for example, and then underneath you get the Grafana stats, Grafana graphs for this specific host, which is really nifty. We also support the same thing as it's just embedded. You can just click on it. I don't know, zoom in, for example, if I would be capable of using the mouse here. Oh, there's a different one. Hey, cool. Yeah. So if I use the right mouse, so you can, it's automatically updated, so the time is updated. So we support all of that. You can do the double-click functionality to get out, zoom out again. So all of that is possible in the UI. That's mainly it for host management now. So not that impressive. Monitor, from the monitor's point of view, for those of you who already maybe have seen the old version that was embedded in or shipped with Luminous, that's mostly the same. So nothing really changed on that front. That's something for later on once we are capable of managing services. And, yeah. More impressive and something that was added is the OSD management. As I told, you get a clear overview about all of your OSDs, what the current status is. You get some fancy graphs, whatever dots here, what is going on, read and writes. You can trigger scrub, for example, on specific OSDs. You can reweight them, mark them as out. You can also destroy them within the UI. So all of that features are possible in the meanwhile. You can also set cluster-wide OSD flags. So to show you maybe how it works, let's just set the no-end flag. I think that's known by everyone. Just click on submit. Maybe you've noticed already, the heart is now switched to yellow. If I click now on the dashboard overview, I get a health warning, so it's automatically updated. And then what's going on? Okay, there's the OSD map. The flag was set, and then I can directly get into the logs. So for example, click on it. Okay, I would like to see the logs for more details. Okay, the health check failed because someone set a no-win flag. So I think that's also really cool. That's live updating, and it's not cached or anything. So let me go back, maybe remove it because my colleagues would like to present something later on, and probably they want it in a healthy state, right? So that's mainly it. I will skip all the metadata and everything else because we have more. There's more to come. I told you already, configuration. Initially, there was a viewer, so read-only mode. You could just we could just list everything. In the meanwhile, that changed, so we can also configure things. So you can we still have the functionality that you, for example, select the specific servers. Let's say the Mon servers, and we would like to know we are not basic, we are not advanced, we are of course developers, and maybe list hundreds of those options on the same page. Let's select this one, and then we could for example edit in case it's possible. This one isn't, that's restrictive, but for example I could change demonize the configurations here, and there's more to come with the next releases. Crush map, real quick, not that fancy yet, so it just visualized the crush map. That's not that fancy yet, but also a long-term goal here is to make it more useful, better integrated, to show maybe how much data is shuffled when you're doing something. And right now, the reason why we did not add the possibility to modify the crush map within the UI is it's just too risky, at least from our point of view. Because you could just drag and drop something, click on apply, and then you're completely screwed. And that's something we would like to prevent. So that's work in progress. Manager modules, next thing. So as I said, we can now manage them, I would say manage, maybe a little bit too much, but we can enable and disable the modules within the UI. So for example, a dashboard module. And while I'm talking, I didn't even thought about disabling the dashboard module while I'm logged into the dashboard. Not sure if that's possible, but I won't do it now. You can also edit, so all the different flags that are there and options. So if you're keen on, in the meanwhile, that's supported in the UI as well. We saw that screen already, cluster logs. So you get an overview, as well as you can switch to the audit logs, so what's going on. So that's quite helpful as well. I hope that is readable. It's really small, but maybe reach out later and we can take a look at it. So, pool overview. You get a static overview. Same thing, more or less. That's the same on all the different pages. We added the details, the bare minimum, and then also, for example, performance details. So if you click on a specific pool, like this one for iScale images, which is called, then you get the Grafana graphs underneath. So the same experience like you had previously on the other OSD tab, for example. So that's the same on all different tabs. You can, of course, create, delete, modify. I won't show this now because we don't have enough time to show everything. Block, so RBDs, is also something where we invested a lot. So we're in the meanwhile, of course, we can create RBDs. We can also snapshot them within the UI. We can also, for example, move them to trash. So the trash functionality is built in as well. We can recover. You can copy and clone existing RBD. Everything of that is possible within the UI. So I think that's a really, really cool thing. And also, for those of you who have used maybe RBD snapshots before, features like to protect the snapshot and to unprotect it later on, something like that's also reflected in the UI. As you can see here, for example, right now this snapshot is unprotected. Let's click on protect. I hope my demo still works. Yeah. And there you got notification. Okay, updated. RBG snapshot is now protected. So I think that's really cool, really nifty. So let's jump. No, I forgot something. I would like to show at least the mirroring page for the RBG mirrors. I did not configure and set up a second cluster. You have to blame me. The blame goes on me. That's true. But at least, as I said, you can now configure the remote peer. You can edit, for example, edit the mode. You can say, okay, on pool or image base, and then connect the peer and create a replication within the UI. I think that's another step forward to make it more easy to use. And your input is needed. So please, please, please give it a shot and let us know what you think about. Now I would skip this one, as the gateway, all the gateway stuff is yours. From my end, file systems is also more or less the same as it were already with Luminous. So we didn't invest much yet into it, but that's planned for post-Nautilus. So let's say what comes next with Octopus. We can't promise anything, but at least that's on our list, on a long backlog, what we have to do. Top corner, obviously, as I said, maybe it's not that important for a lot of you, but I think for us it was a big investment as well. As I said, it's now translated, and I think this is really helpful in specific areas around the world to have their mother tongue within the UI reflected. That helps a lot. Last thing from my end before I'll wrap up is, as I mentioned already, user management, and specifically here the roles that we've added. By default, we ship a couple of roles, like for example, obviously the administrator role. Here the one I mentioned, the read-only mode. So if you click, for example, on it, and then you get the list of it, you see, okay, this one can't change dashboard settings, and everything else, he has to read-only flag. And you could restrict it even further and say, okay, this one can only see maybe the OSD page and list it, and nothing else. So this is really restrictive, and we hope it's helpful to someone out there. With that said, I think I'm through, and I would like to hand over to the gateway part.
Thank you, Kai.
Back. Presentation. Just click on presentation.
No, just skip the next process.
Back, next. Yeah, after, yeah.
All right, thanks. So everything that Kai has been showing is functionalities that you can manage that are implemented within the Ceph cluster. But Ceph Dashboard is also capable of managing external services, which we call the gateways. And I'm going to talk briefly how the dashboard can actually manage these external services. So currently, the dashboard is capable of managing the Rados object gateway, the NFS Ganesha gateways, and also iSCSI gateways. When those gateways are used, the Ceph iSCSI service. One thing important is that what the dashboard does is manage. It cannot deploy services, so it doesn't take care of deployment. Maybe in the future, with the help of the orchestrator module that is being developed, maybe we can use that to also take care of the deployment of services and add new services to your cluster. So, how does the dashboard can talk with the gateways? So it really depends on the gateway. So for the RGW gateway, we use a REST API. For Ganesha, NFS Ganesha, we actually use librados because we look at the configuration is stored in the cluster, And for the iSCSI gateways, we also use a REST API provided by Ceph iSCSI. And this is a very simple architecture, so there's no magic here. So regarding the Rados Object Gateway, so currently we are able to see how many gateways, RGW gateways are running, so which we call the daemons. This is only a read-only view, so you just see how many are. You can manage users, so you can create users, and in each user can manage their keys and also set some quotas. And you also are able to manage buckets, so you can create buckets, delete buckets, and set some buckets properties. So the management is done using the RGW admin ops API, which is some REST-like API. And multi-site management is not available. Yeah. So for NFS Ganesha, what we can do is manage NFS Ganesha exports. And these exports can be both created using the CephFS or the RGW backend. The way we manage is by reading and writing the Ganesha configuration files that are stored in a Rados pool. Okay? So we basically, when we create an export, this export creates an object in some Rados pool, and each Ganesha instance has also its own Rados object where it has the links to the export. And so what the dashboard does is basically reading and writing these objects. We can also communicate with the gateway by using the librados watch notify interface. So we send a notify message to one of those objects which the Ganesha instance is listening, and with this we can actually trigger a reload of the configuration. So whenever we change or create an export in the dashboard, we automatically tell the NFS Ganesha instance to reload. So for iSCSI, what we are currently able to do is we can see an overview page of the iSCSI gateways and also their state and how many images we are exporting, RBD images. And we can manage iSCSI targets. So we can create targets, we can associate RBD images to those targets, configure in which gateways that target should be available, etc., etc. Many things. The dashboard already supports the multiple backstores for the iSCSI target if the iSCSI gateway allows them. Or the iSCSI gateway tells the dashboard how many backstores are available, and the dashboard is already prepared to show them. And all of this is done using the Ceph iSCSI REST API that is also part of the Ceph project. So now I'm going to give the word to my colleague, Ricardo, and he's going to show you a demo about these management functionalities.
Yeah. It would be great to switch microphone. It's on? Okay. So, after this overview on the gateway management, let's now see it in action. So let's return to our demo system. And the first thing that I would like to show is the iSCSI management. So to manage iSCSI, you should go to the iSCSI menu. Inside the blocks menu, the first thing that you'll see is the overview, the iSCSI overview page. The iSCSI overview page will show you the full list of the iSCSI gateways. And for each of these gateways, you can see the status of the REST API, the Ceph iSCSI REST API. So in this case, it's up and running on every node. You can also see the number of targets that we have for each host, and also the number of active sessions for each node. Below this list, you will see the images that are being exported as iSCSI disks. So, to manage targets, you have to switch to the Targets tab. In the Targets tab, you will see the full list of your targets, and you can set the discovery authentication that will be used for the client to be able to see the list of available targets. And yeah, if you click on the row, you will see the full iSCSI topology for that target, and you can drill down and click on leaves just to see more details about that. For now, let's try to create an iSCSI target. Ceph Dashboard will create a target IQN name for you. You can change it. For now, let's just use the default one. We have to choose the portals where we are deploying it and the image that we are exporting. So this is the minimal configuration for an iSCSI target, and we don't have authentication, but we can enable it by clicking on this checkbox. If you do it, we are activating the ACL authentication, and we can specify the initiators IQN. So let's create a client as an example. You can set username and password as well as the mutual username and mutual password. And you have to specify which images this target can see. So let's select the only one. If you don't want to do this heading images for all the clients, you can just create a group. You will give it a name, and then you add all the initiators that you want to that group. And once you add an image to the group, all the iSCSI clients will be able to see that disk. For now, we will not create groups. I think that we have everything that you need just to submit this one, and here we go. Our iSCSI is now created. The next thing that I would like to show you is the NFS management. We have an NFS menu entry, and just like in the iSCSI, you can see the full list of exports that you already have configured. You can click on a row to see details, and we will create one as an example. You choose which daemon you should use. So we only have one. Let's pick this. You can choose the storage backend. If you choose the RGW backend, you will have to specify the username and the path. And if you choose the CephFS backend, you have to choose the user ID that you want to use and the CephFS, so the file system name. Optionally, you can enable the security, and you have to specify the path. So let's type it something. We are supporting NFS. NFS Ganesha supports NFS v3 and v4. So let's keep both enabled. Choose the pseudo path, and we can choose the access type that we want. Let's keep it as the default, the read and write. The type of squashing that we want, and optionally we can also override the access type and the squash by client. For now, we will not have any client. We will just submit this, and we have an issue. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Assuming that everything worked as expected, which was not the case, the export should appear here and be available for the clients to connect. The next thing, and the last gateway that I would like to show you, is the RGW. You have an object gateway menu entry, and you can click on daemons to see all the RGW daemons. You also have a tab where you can see Grafana graphs. And you have a user menu entry where we can see, create, edit, and delete RGW users. Let's create one as an example. Hopefully it will work. So username and full name are mandatory, and then we can, if you already have an access key and a secret key, we can put them here. For now, let's auto-generate one, and you can enable user and bucket quota and set max size and max number of objects. For now, I will just disable it, keep it simple, create the user, and the user is now created. You can click on it and see more details. You can also see the key tabs, where you will be able to see the generated keys for the client that we have just created. The last thing that I would like to show is the bucket management. The list of buckets, you can click on it to see the details, and we can create. For that, we can type the name and select the owner. Let's go with admin. And the bucket is created. I think that with this, I've covered all I wanted to show you. Yeah. If you have any question, if you have any topic that you would like to discuss, you can just join the Ceph Dashboard channel on IRC. We have that dedicated channel where you will find all the Ceph Dashboard developers. And for more information on how to get involved on Ceph, just use the link that we have on this slide, and you will find information about how to submit issue tracker, our issue tracker, how to submit bugs, and a lot of information about getting involved. So, and we still have some time for questions, so please feel free to ask whatever you want. We'll do our best to reply. Oh, there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the big improvements now in the dashboard. Maybe not really a question, but like an interactive demo. Could you try creating an RGW user that is an email address? I would be interested to see if that works now or how it behaves.
So, RGW user?
What was the? Oh, the email address.
Oh, the email address. Okay. Oh.
No. The username should be an email address. Okay. Just copy and paste.
Oh. Let's see. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but it worked. Thanks.
Further questions? Man, it was my fault. I should have wrapped it up.
Some exercise.
Has there been any thought to moving the dashboard out of the version Ceph repository, since most of the features aren't necessarily specific to any particular Ceph version? Or to be able to install a specific version outside of that Ceph release?
We had that discussion several times, but we came from openATTIC, and openATTIC was outside of the Ceph repo, and at the time we faced several problems, and the main problem was whenever something on the Ceph code base changed that braked our expectations from the GUI perspective, we would get those issues in a very late stage. By having the Ceph Dashboard code included in the Ceph repository and being part of the continuous integration cycle, we get all, whenever there's a change in Ceph behavior, we get it very early and we can fix it, or even ask the developer that break it to fix it. Okay? So we, at least for now, we see much more advantages of having the code inside the Ceph repo than getting outside. Okay.
More questions?
Hey, you're using Grafana, Prometheus, some of those tools for metrics and the graphs for the dashboard. Do you install them separately on your own during the installation, or do you suggest that we use the ones that we already probably have in Kubernetes?
Can you answer?
Yeah, sure. You can answer the question yourself. Well, so if you say we as SUSE, yeah, then we have a tool, Assault-based, which takes care of that. So it does the installation and configuration of Prometheus, and as well as the configuration of Grafana. But in the end, as I've referred to, we're using the Ceph matrix, so those dashboards. And if you have already an existing one, of course, you can integrate them as well. I think the only thing that you needs to make sure is that the naming is the same, right? Yeah. So the dashboard names that you import needs to have the same name. Otherwise, they won't show up in the UI, obviously, because those are hard-coded.
So we can use an existing Grafana instance in Prometheus, but the dashboards need to exist, those dashboards in particular.
Last chance. If not, then first of all, thanks everyone, and we need your feedback, as I said initially already, so please give it a try. Reach out on IRC, on a mailing list, wherever, I don't care. But let us know what you think, what's missing, what should be improved to make it even better, because that's exactly what we need. We need user feedback at the end. So thanks everyone for joining.